I did all the historic range pools of the volume to see where previous volume was in the previous price action. Let me update this overall range volume now. And this is the current range volume. And actually, one thing I can do is another range pull in this volume here to there, just so that we have the range volumes in. So it's good to see those range volumes, because that's historic volume. And you know, usually as the price moves, it will go from range to range and it observes previous volume levels. And so what you can clearly see, and this is on the gate chart, you can see this point of control here on this this volume profile on this range here is acting as support. You see that? It has been acting as support. It's historic volume, but you see this whole consolidation range of 4 months in 22 has now become our support zone. Yeah. If I was to accurately pinpoint that line, that point of control, which I'm going to do now. And this is, I mean, I think what I'm doing with the volume profiles is, for most people, it's quite a mystery and probably quite new. It's a new concept for most people. I don't think it's necessarily well-known methodology for analyzing the charts, but I can tell you from what I've seen and what I've experienced that it really works. It's really accurate to know where the price can stop and where the price can reverse and where the price can find support. Historic price action has an impact on future price action, and until we get into price discovery, you'll know that we will not be able to go up like a rocket just yet. You can see that, look, you can see that that's the point of control. That's a previous range point of control. So I'm not just gonna, I'm gonna put it previous, or I call it range 22, range 22 point of control, range summer. Keep that in my folder. Okay, you can clearly see that the range point of control from summer 22 is acting as support here. We lost it, but we actually are holding support. So that's the point of control. We've effectively flipped the summer of 22 point of control into support. And you know, this is what happens as the price moves up. It goes from range to range, it goes from level to level, and it slowly over time it flips levels from resistance into support. Now, if we hold that level as support, which it looks like we're trying to do now, that will become our next line in the sand. Yeah, and as you can see with the way the price is moving up, you can see that the price is moving level to level, range to range, and on the most part it's following historic price action. Yeah, so wherever the ranges are forming, you can see that there's some kind of correlation between previous levels and current levels. Okay, no one really knows exactly when and where and which level is going to be the strongest, but usually it's based on volume. And so you can see here that we've had quite a large amount of volume, and we've attacked it, we've had a rejection, but we've come back into volume. So we've had a rejection from volume and we've come back into volume. Okay. And so right now volume is holding us, and it is possible that we have another attack at the higher levels. Based on what I can see, this was a very wide range, and we are at the range low of this upper range. Eventually, and I think sooner rather than later, we're going to flip 9 cents into support and we'll be in the higher range. Okay. It hasn't happened yet. And, you know, eventually it will happen. And then where we will be in this little tiny outcrop range at this top range here. I've got it wider here, but actually there's also a small range when the price left 9 cents and dropped underneath 9 cents here. Okay. That's eventually where we're going to be. We're going to be in that little tiny range. We tried to get in there twice and failed. We tried to get in there many times, but one time we were actually in there for a little bit and failed. And I think the next time we get back into that range, that's going to be a massive sign of strength. You see, the next time we get back above 9 cents, that is strength. You can long strength, you can buy strength. That's what you do. That's what happens. You know, like people are like thinking to themselves, I don't know what a sign of strength is, or like, what is strength? How do you identify strength? And in the context of the markets, if you see levels being flipped from resistance into support, and if you see the price reclaiming historic price ranges, getting back into the value areas of previous price ranges, that is strength. Now, sometimes you get faked out. It's always possible to get faked out. And so you have to keep an eye on it, because you can always go from strength to weakness very quickly, especially on the first attempt of getting back into some kind of prior range. So, I mean, I haven't really been trading TRVL. I've just been analyzing the price action and letting people figure it out for themselves. But I did see weakness. I didn't sell into it because I'm not selling TRVL. Not for profit anyway, not right now. But I did see it. Okay, and it was I didn't really see it as a big deal, because I think we're going to the moon. But you see this little outcrop up here. This is the same idea. It was, if you go back into historic price action, you can see this little outcrop of price action here. Yeah, I've got a much wider range here, but actually there's a smaller range here above 9 cents. And you see the value area low is at 9 cents, and you have the point of control at about 9.5 cents. So there is a previous range here with the top of the range at about 11.5, right, where that red line is. And what you can clearly see is that we came into that top range right up to the top, which is the value area high of the previous range. And as soon as we lost it, we just couldn't get back in. We just couldn't get back in. We had one try, one and another try, and that's when you had a little bit of sell-off. There was a rejection, and the terminology for this idea is a failed auction in the highs. So your auction, it's an auction for higher prices, and it fails. Okay. Now, I didn't necessarily expect the price to drop so far down, and fundamentally what has happened is that people have panicked, and maybe they entered quite higher, or maybe they've had profits from lower, and they just wanted to capture in their profits, not understanding how the market works, not understanding support levels and volume levels and all this kind of technical stuff. And so they panicked and sold, And actually the amount of volume that's been sold is going to be very difficult for the same people to get back in without moving the price. So it's always better to absorb the price when it comes down, because you can fill your position at a better price than to try and fill the position when the price is actually starting to move up when no one is selling. Yeah. So you get yourself into a situation where as the price now tries to move up, you get into the sentiment changes and people are no longer selling because Bitcoin is no longer going down. And then when people start buying, you'll get faster moves, you'll get faster price action to the upside. Yeah. And so it's never good to buy when the price starts going up unless you can catch it really early. Yeah. Because you'll end up buying and there's no sellers. And so what actually happens is that the price skips prices because there's no volume, and you end up with higher prices, unreasonably higher prices. So the moment to buy into these smaller tokens is when Bitcoin is pulling back. Now, the best case scenario for TRVL would have easily been to have, as Bitcoin was pulling back, to have held support here. Yeah, the point of control. If I had seen that, I would have been extremely impressed, because it would have told me that selling has stopped and actually buying is continuing while Bitcoin is dumping. Yeah, that's literally what I wanted to see. It would have confirmed my idea. DJM, hey man, what's new? I'm just explaining about TRVL and price action. I'm just educating really. And that didn't happen. And so that doesn't matter because some people sold and the price was absorbed at lower prices. What I can clearly see is that this range of summer 22 point of control, and if you go back into the range of the summer of 22, we have a point of control here. This is the range. I've marked it with a red line and it's holding a support. You can clearly see it's lining up with the value area low of our current range and it's holding a support. Effectively what's happened is we've gone above this range, we've lost the range high, we've back tested the range high, we've come back into the point of control, bounced right up to the range high, rejected from the range high, fell back underneath the point of control, back tested the point of control as resistance, and we're back into the range low. Okay, kind of like Bitcoin actually. Like you can almost think to yourself that TRVL is this whole price action here is almost like a carbon copy of how Bitcoin is behaving. And so naturally Bitcoin is, when you look at Bitcoin, it kind of looks, I mean, dare I say it looks similar, but Bitcoin is back at the range low, TRVL back at the range low. Now, the great thing about TRVL is that we've had a price increase over the last few months. And as far as I can tell, this range is where we are in terms of Bitcoin range 2. Yeah, we're at the range low right now. So in terms of Bitcoin is now coming out or trying to come out the range low, and TRVL will come out the range low. So when Bitcoin goes into price discovery, I would expect TRVL to break this higher level. That's what I'm expecting. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't know, but that would make sense, because to date 9 cents has been a real strong, powerful level, and for Bitcoin, it kind of reflects the previous all-time high, that kind of 9 cents mark, and that's the line in the sand. And in the same way that Bitcoin will probably fly once it breaks the all-time high, I don't see why TRVL doesn't fly when we break 9 cents. Yeah, and I don't think people quite understand just yet the reasons why we could break, we could fly after we hit 9 cents, but I'm going to explain right now. Ever since this token was launched, yeah, at 9 cents. It's acted as some kind of support and resistance line, like a support, like a massive SR flip. And for the most part of the period of time, this token has been underneath 9 cents. Yeah, if you look at the overall price range, that line is the anchored VWAP. You can just ignore that. You can clearly see that 9 cents, the price has mostly been underneath 9 cents. Yeah, it was above 9 cents for a short period of time here, and for briefly for 6 days or so here, and then for a brief period of time here, and then the rest was just from the launch to 9 cents, and then it fell under. So for the most period of time, this token has been underneath 9 cents. That's the launch price. And we've actually attacked 9 cents many on numerous occasions. Here's one. Here's two. That's an attack. We've attacked it again there, and again there, and again there, and again there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 5 separate occasions 9 cents has been attacked by the bulls, and at every single occasion we failed to get through 9 cents. But what's interesting about this time around is that we're making higher lows. Yeah, we're attacking 9 cents and making higher lows, whereas in previous occasions we didn't have the comfort of that, the luxury of that comfort. Yeah, because here we're making lower lows. This was just some kind of relief rally, still making lower lows, and for the first time now we're making higher lows. Yeah, higher lows just tells me, or should tell anyone, that there's so much demand in the market that people will not allow for the price to reach a lower low. Yeah, it means that the price is being prevented from making lower lows because of the imbalance in orders. So the selling decreases and the buying increases at lower levels to the point that the price can't make a lower low. If you look at the way the price has moved, we've been unable to consistently make lower lows ever since the all-time low in October, right? So that's extremely bullish. That's a bullish idea which is being demonstrated to us in real time. Yeah, I had no idea that we would hold this low when we were dropping. I had no idea. Yeah, no one had. I honestly thought, as a doomsday, I had a doomsday trading plan which I shared on Twitter, thinking that if we do drop, 4 cents will be the next best place to buy. I had no idea, but to me right now it looks like we're holding a higher low, and probably, as long as Bitcoin continues to show strength in the bull market, we will make another attack. Eventually we will take 9 cents and flip it into support. Eventually that will happen, and this whole range that's underneath us will become higher time frame support for the price. That is extremely bullish. It's such a bullish concept that I'm describing to you. I can't really explain it very well, but you see this is weekly market structure. We've got 2 weekly red candles. If and when the price is able to go up and flip 9 cents into support, then these red candles become very strong structural support levels for the future. Yeah, for the future. So therefore, if the price does expand to the upside, which is what I would want and hope for, if any time in the future the price comes back down, this structure will offer an amazing amount of support for the price. Yeah, it'd be very unusual to lose that structure once we've created it and gone up. Yeah, now I said in previous streams that we were consolidating underneath resistance. I still think that. It's just that the consolidation range is quite wide. Yeah. Whereas before I was hoping for a more of a flat consolidation range, which would have been fine, more bullish in my opinion, and that would have been better. We didn't, you know, we didn't get that. Okay. And instead we have a slightly wider consolidation range. Probably it's matching the wideness of this range and the wideness of this range, you know, that so these ranges are nicely matching with the height in the ranges. And if and when we do go up, then this whole kind of the structural support underneath 9 cents, in my opinion, is incredible. It's incredible structural support. Okay, you can almost see that we're forming an inverse head and shoulders. I did say this before, and while I was kind of contemplating some kind of Adam and Eve bottoming pattern, yeah, I think the Adam and Eve idea is invalidated, by the way. I don't want to like keep on drumming about this invalidated idea. The idea is only valid until it's invalidated. And, you know, no one can really predict the future. So that's my idea for Adam and Eve. I think it's invalidated because I think I didn't really expect this to drop down like that. I wanted it to go up. So I'm not really expecting this idea anymore to play out the way I think. So that neckline actually becomes a little bit more irrelevant, because for an Adam and Eve pattern to execute correctly, you have to break and you have to hold the neckline. Yeah. And therefore that neckline becomes a little bit more irrelevant in the context of going up. But now it's looking like an inverse head and shoulders, which is, I've said this before. Yeah, really tiny shoulder. It could be wider, I don't know. It could go on and kind of elongate out, but the right shoulder just tells you it's a bullish idea. That's all. It just means that the shoulder could have been much deeper, or, you know, it could have come down much further. But right now what I'm seeing is a formation of a right shoulder and a freaking large head and a freaking large left shoulder. Okay, it's an idea. It's another idea that I have. It doesn't look pretty, but effectively, where is the neckline? Maybe a bit lower. It's not crazy. It's not like a beautiful drawing. It's not a really beautiful drawing. I can't give you beautiful drawings. Yeah. And there is an idea there that we are forming some kind of, there is some kind of neckline there. I can't really pinpoint it, to be honest with you. It's not the best. Maybe it would be better to focus on the all-time high through to this, just this pivot here. So the minute we break that, and it's the same idea as any pivot, although we're underneath this line here, it's the same idea as that, as you could just kind of take the all-time high to any pivot. You see that? We came over, we came under. That's a pivot. That's the pivot that's put in. You can just take the all-time high to the next pivot, break that. But I actually think that we are forming some kind of something. Now, based on my Wyckoff, let me just have a look at this as well, because we have this GAN support. So we're back underneath the GAN line. That has happened before, you know, like that doesn't phase me out so much, because we're back underneath this golden pocket. We do have to go up. You know, it's really important we go up. This is the halving week. I am expecting a buy up. Okay. Tonight, tomorrow, I am expecting a buy up. I don't know if it's going to happen. Let's see. But then the other thing that I'm thinking to myself, are these Elliott waves. So let me go back to my Bybit chart. So there's an assumption here that the low is in. Okay. And it's amazing because I did this analysis on Fib time. And that pivot, this green pivot that we put in here, landed perfectly on Fib time. And that was when the price dipped to 5.5 cents and we had a massive buyout. It's amazing because the price has come all the way back and we've been able to hold a higher low. At the moment, it looks like we're holding a higher low. So when and again, Fib time is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with, or maybe they don't know how to use. But the market isn't just about price, it's about time. Yeah. And when I take the Fib time pivot from the launch week to the low in December 22 to the rally of February 23, you can see that the 618 on Fib time landed on the all-time low. And on the week of the 18th of March, this major pivot was put in on Fib time. Okay, that pivot looks like it's holding. That pivot was perfectly aligned to my support at 5.5. Okay, where is it? I've got it here somewhere. I might have deleted it actually. I hope not. Oh, it's on another chart. But if in effect, there was a shitload of support levels at 5.5 cents, which is what I highlighted. And what's interesting is that our next Fib time is in November, and then the next one is in April. Okay, so we have a couple of major Fib times coming in the future. I'm going to keep a track of those. I don't usually use Fib time other than the 618s and the whole numbers. I should use them and see what happens. Let me see what the default's like. That's the default. Oh my god, it's so ugly. Yeah, it doesn't really help. Well, according to this, the 1382 is in August, and I don't really think it gives you any indication. I can't see any real, maybe a change. You can see that there was a change in the move on the Fib time, but it still went down. That's August. I will keep an eye on that just in case. You know, it's quite fun to mess about with this stuff and see if we find anything interesting. So going forwards, we have a lot of volume. See this green volume this week, massive volume. Last week, massive volume. And what the buyers have done is they've held the price. This is really an amazing development. Like some tokens have pulled back significantly, and actually in the scale of things, when you look at this higher time frame chart, I actually think that we haven't really pulled back that much. It's a lot. It's 50%. We have to bear that in mind. When next time Bitcoin corrects, TRVL has the potential to pull back 50%. Yeah. So we have to bear that in mind. From the high to the low, it's actually a little bit more. It's a 56% correction just because of Bitcoin. Yeah. And we have to bear that in mind. So in the future, whenever we are reaching higher numbers, I would be contemplating a 50% correction. So if we manage to get to $5.1, a 50% correction of 55 will take us down to $2, you know. Have to bear that in mind. And maybe the higher we go up, the more aggressive the correction. I'm not sure. But this is our first big correction on TRVL. And potentially we've had our first Elliott wave as well. And I'm tracking the Elliott waves with keen interest. And so what I'm thinking now when it comes to these waves, see, you always have to update waves because they don't always work. This is still corrective. There's no waves here. It looks impulsive, but there was only, look, you see, it's an ABC, ABC, ABC. We're still ABCing, yeah? We're not 5 waving, which is what you want for an impulsive Elliott wave count. We're just getting lots of ABCs in the way the price moves, ABC. That was actually a 5 wave down. See, no, it wasn't ABC, ABC. There's lots of ABCs, okay? What I'm expecting eventually is a bullish impulsive move wherever the correction ends and where the impulse begins. Now, I did think that this was possibly the first impulsive move. 1, 2, 3. But I don't think so, because it doesn't work with this correction and the impulse. You would expect continuation of the impulse. Yeah. And actually, if that was the 1, then this whole thing couldn't go underneath the 1, so that's not corrective. So you just have to keep on readdressing and reanalyzing Elliott waves and just keep a track. And so I am keeping a track on these waves. I think up till this point we're correct, I think. Okay. I'm not 100%, I'm like 95%. Yeah, I'm kind of high in the high 90s. Sure, I'm not 100% sure, and you know, I'm happy to be corrected if anyone sees anything different. So I'm just keeping a track of these. And so normally what I would do is I would do a fib time to figure out the bottom from the 0 to the 3 to the 4, and my fib time bottom came around here where we really did fall to the bottom. It was roughly on point. I would consider that correct. That would mean the end. That's the end. That's how I calculate the end based on fib time. When I worked out Elliott waves, I will do it from the 0 to the 3 to the 4. You can only do that after you've worked it out to calculate when the bottom comes in, roughly, of the correction, the end of the correction. That's why I was thinking maybe this was the impulsive move. It doesn't look like it because you need 5 waves, and there's only 2, there's only 3, there's only 2 impulsive waves there. I can't see 1, 2, 3, unless, yeah, I don't see much volume in that movement either, so therefore I'm not really going to consider it. So I want to see volume. I mean, it looks quite impulsive, huh? You could argue that that's your wave 1. This is the 2 correction. So there is an argument to be had. And we have to just see A, B, C. Could we be about to begin our next wave? I don't know. Could that be the correction? It's going to happen soon. Yeah. I think this level makes sense though, because when you do a trend-based fib from there to the A to the B, somewhere there, you're almost coming down to, hold on a second. almost got to the 1.272, and actually the 1-to-1 is where it came in to land. That was, this pit here is a little bit of an overcorrection. You see it's come back into the 1-to-1. That's the 1-to-1. That's why this is quite nice, because you see it's, the price is following fib, trend-based fib lines. Okay, so I actually don't, I can't tell you, I can't say that this is the impulsive move, and I don't see volume with that move, so I'm not really convinced. So I am thinking somewhere here we are going to impulse out of this. Okay, maybe tomorrow. It's going to happen tomorrow for a massive buy up. I'm almost tempted to sell my altcoins and market buy tonight for shits and giggles, just to start it off. I might do it just for shits and giggles. I've got some altcoins which I'm still bullish on, but I'm just tempted to sell them and just buy TRVL. I like to hedge too, you know, so I don't really like to just go all in on one token, but because you never know, some tokens are just going to go up like crazy and do like ridiculous X's. So if that's correction over here, then I'm going to do this now. Let's get rid of that fib time. And now what we're going to do is a trend based from here to correction over. Now, correction is only over when the impulse begins. So I can't see the impulse beginning yet. So maybe it's a little bit higher. I don't know exactly when it's... It looks like we're trying to form some kind of inverse head and shoulders here. I'd like to see when the correction ends to begin my impulsive, to do my trend-based fib. Let me just line these up correctly, because this is going to be really important for identifying higher targets. And I haven't been trading TRVL, but this next wave I probably will, because we're going to be in higher numbers. There'll be a lot more volume, hopefully, and therefore I'm probably going to start trading this a little bit. I'm not going to go crazy, but I am thinking about trading this. So to the current low here, based on those trend-based fibs, a 1-to-1 would put us at 18.5 cents. An extended move would take us to my target of 29 cents or so. That's kind of what I'm targeting. I think I'm expecting that target to hit. I'm expecting 28 cents. For me, it's quite an important level. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe a 1 here, and then a 3 somewhere here, and then a 5 up there. And I don't know. That wouldn't work, because the 1 can't be the longest. If the 3 is the shortest, then the 5 would be much shorter. I'd want a higher 5, but then I know there's resistance at 17.5. So maybe I want the 1 to go all the way up there for a 3. I mean, I think this would be best case scenario. In the context of, I don't know how hard we're going to hit past this level though. That's the thing. I can't tell you that. there's some resistance here, so I'm not sure if we have a weaker one. And then I know that 17.5 is quite strong, so I'm not sure how we're going to get past there so easily. We have to see what happens. I have to see what happens when the price moves to determine how we're going to reach our targets. Yeah, and I'm not sure if the correction's over yet, and that's the other thing. We could end up with another ABC, another ABC to go up. Like, that's the thing when it comes to this next move. Until we can take out that high with an impulsive move, it's still going to be correcting. Yeah, and then you can start counting. It would make sense to impulse now, but I'm not 100%. So if people are looking to enter safely, I think it's not difficult. Like, I mean, if people are still worried that the price is going to go down, maybe they're still worried about Bitcoin or something. That's always possible. You just got to look for these trend line breaks. From the pivot to the high of the high to these pivots. Maybe that one. Maybe this one. It's not very accurate, you know, illiquid tokens and that. Maybe that was a little fake out. That looks like it was a little bit of a fake out. See that? And actually this is the correct trend line, because you see it's hit this line. Came over, back tested, test again. So if we do break that, that will be probably quite an impulsive, there should be quite an impulsive move to break that line. And I think that will kind of coincide with a little bit with confidence returning to the wider market. Looking at Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin has got a large role in what's happening. You see now there's a little bit of a sell-off. What is that sell-off? Let me go up on that. So you've got some longs closing right now. I'm still seeing massive seller absorption. And actually, when you're looking at the price action, this is naturally where the price might find support on the top of this previous wick. All I'm really fussed about is that the bullish market structure on the lower time frame continues. Is that a rejection? It looks like a rejection right now, but I think that's normal because you got profit taking at the highs. We've come into a daily level. Whatever happens, this candle is going to look quite bullish because it will look like a, well, not whatever happens, it won't look bullish if it turns red, but maybe it would as well. I mean, I think the thing is we've come all the way up, this taken all of the liquidity. I think we're going to end up with a bullish candle because we're at the lows with a wick on top, but the next candle still has to go up. Whatever happens, the next candle has to go up and break into the value area low. I think it's going to be problematic if the next candle still struggles to get into the value area low of the Bitcoin range. And I think that's what people are waiting for. So when I'm looking at TRVL, I don't know if people are convinced yet that the low is in, you know. They're not convinced 100% yet. We are getting a bullish day today. It's quite bullish because we've kind of reversed yesterday's price action, but it's not explosive bullish yet. It's not like what you want to see for the next move. Okay. As long as Bitcoin doesn't go down anymore, I think the low is in. Okay, so that's the condition. And you can see like here on KuCoin, We're just kind of underneath the value area low of this upper range. The point of control is still in the highs, still acting as resistance. It would be nice to put in a little bit of volume here and flip the point of control to the lows on KuCoin. It would be nice. That would be really nice to see if that happened. And on the different exchanges, you're going to have slightly different volume profiles because the buying profile is slightly different. You see on Bybit, we are slightly above the point of control of this upper range at the moment, and so we haven't lost this range yet. Okay, so yeah, let's just see what happens. I think now is a good time to buy. The price is good. We're finding rejection from lower prices, and Bitcoin is starting to show strength. As long as Bitcoin doesn't collapse, I think we're in a good place to buy up. Like, there'll be a really good buy up here. Good. 5.5 cents is our massive support. You can clearly see it by these wicks. 1 and 2. There's these wicks. These are buying tails. So we're getting support here. And as long as Bitcoin goes up and shows a little bit of strength, probably the next kind of week we're going to get a nice buy up, and then people are going to get bullish again, but you'll lose the opportunity to buy at these prices, because if we're back at 10 or 11 or 12 cents, you know, you can get it half as cheap right now, 50% cheaper right now compared to the future prices. So, you know, none of this is financial advice, but, you know, as always, it's a good place. The question is my Adam and Eve pattern really invalidated? You could argue no, actually, because we are making higher lows. Yeah. You could argue that it's not exactly invalidated. I think it is, but maybe not. I mean, I'm just thinking about it while I'm here talking to you guys. And it's amazing because this monthly level really held as resistance. See that? I had this level marked. It was the monthly level. You see the top of this month? And it really held as resistance. So you got to be aware of these levels. This one is tapped. And so really the next major level for me is 17.5 cents and then 28 cents. There's two major levels. But what's interesting about this monthly level is how it resisted the price on numerous occasions. That's good to see. It's good to see that these levels are holding. It just means that technically the token is following technicals. Yeah, I had that level marked from ages, and you can clearly see now on numerous occasions that was the right place to sell. You see that? The price find it difficult to cross that level on numerous occasions. Now that we see that and see the price is following these levels, it just makes it easier to trade in the future without worrying about FOMO or the price kind of going past those areas of interest. So going back to the Adam and Eve idea, I'm just wondering, because the Adam and Eve idea is about a rounding bottom, isn't it? Not that one. This is back on Bybit. So let's go on. There it is. See, it's a rounding bottom. I mean, technically, you could argue that it's not invalidated because we're making lower lows here and higher lows here. Let's see what happens, though. Let's see how this plays out. and obviously everything has to do with Bitcoin. So we're just keeping an eye on Bitcoin, and as long as Bitcoin is showing strength